All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another Why Would You Use? So today we are going to be talking about the Bubonico. The Bubonico is the new arm cannon that is a shotgun this time and also has an alt-fire mode of being a giant mortar grenade launcher type weapon. That, I will state immediately, if you are looking for a weapon to just kind of be obnoxious with, this is the one. If you would like to definitely have one of the most obnoxious visuals as a player, you can use this plus Mirage, and that'll do it. That will definitely do it. That being said, this new arm cannon is all right. It's a pretty good primary weapon, and while of course over these last few videos I've been saying emphatically that a pretty good primary weapon is not a huge deal, as there are not a lot of them, this weapon is totally fine. I have invested 3 forma in it. It is worth noting you can make it perform a little bit better at higher levels by adding more polarities to this and, of course, utilizing Hunter munitions. But the build gets kind of full at that point, and adding Hunter munitions, you basically have to lose Vigilante armaments, which is a bit rough, unless you go for some outside source of crit, such as, like, you know, Harrow or Smitas or Avenger or so on and so forth, because those are definitely options if you really want to take this thing to the maximum. Though, if you really want to take this thing to the maximum, maybe Gauss is one of the better options for that, as Gauss is a huge fan of kind of all the arm cannons as it stands right now. That being said, the main primary fire is crit focused, and the secondary fire is status focused. I really, really wish that these two things were reversed, because the modes want the opposite stats. On the huge burst mode, you want huge single hit, high damage crits, which you can get if you use one of those outside crit sources that I was talking about, and you can build this weapon entirely around only using its secondary fire if you decide to go that route, which is going to be quite good, and Hunter munitions is definitely going to be a thing you're going to want to use on here instead of blunderbuss if you're going that way. But if you're planning on using this weapon regularly, the primary fire doesn't have a ton of status. I really, really wish these two things were flipped, because having a tons of status proccing primary fire and a huge hard-hitting crit secondary fire would make this weapon way, way good, and maybe actually start being competitive with secondary weapons and stuff, which would also be really nice. For that, though, this weapon performs fine. We are going to do an initial test here that is just going to show it contrasting with the weapon that we did last, which was the Catabalist. So we have our 4 XO Gokstat officers, and you guys are going to be able to see the comparative way that this takes out these enemies as opposed to the Catabalist, which evaporates them. So the alt fire is this. So you can do that to get some procs going and then unload with the shotgun. Obviously, you're going to want to get headshots, but because you can see this weapon takes up so much of the screen, that can be challenging sometimes. And even still, these enemies are very, very resistant to damage. Even, you know, point blanking this directly into their heads, it's a rough go of it, as they are very, very tough. That being said, these enemies are not indicative of most enemies in Warframe, and if you're just doing regular content, this damage is going to be more than adequate. But I will state, were the roles on this weapon reversed, that test would be super, super trivial for this weapon in particular. That being said, we are going to do the regular level 80 test to show kind of just how it works on general regular enemies, or slightly above average enemies, I suppose, due to them being the corrupted variants of all the enemies, so we can get a nice mixture of health types. But yeah, I really, really like this weapon, and because it's a primary, it's not my main source of damage, so I could justify using it pretty much whenever, which I guess is kind of nice, but also, I know I'm kind of going on about it, but it's maybe a problem that primary weapons aren't very good. I will say the range on this for a shotgun is not bad. You can get pretty adequate damage at higher ranges, because from the test server to the main server, they actually tightened up the spread on this weapon pretty considerably. Which has helped it quite a bit, and it's a little bit more heck-like than it was prior, as it can get some decent range. You see, even at the level 80 tests, because the weapon damage is not that super high, I am putting myself in danger just against these regular enemies, which can be a little tough. And that's due to just having to get close with a shotgun, really more so than anything else. In fairness, most of the time, whatever Warframe you're playing as is pretty much going to be in no danger while using this, because we build to not die in general. Usually that's the #1 goal, so you're going to be totally fine just walking into enemies' faces and eliminating them. But yeah, this weapon, more of a fun time than anything else, I'll say, because it feels super chunky. It's got, like, crazy, like, a super obnoxious, like, impressive-looking explosives. Like, it's a fun time. I enjoy using it, but it's nothing insane. However, it does look really, really cool. So yeah, that is the Bubonico. I was really hoping that this was going to perform better once I had it formatted out, as I was pretty optimistic about this on the test server. And while it is still good, I really wish it had been great. So yeah, that's the Bubonico. I will see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.